Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Mac Story.
Hello, and thanks for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. So today we're continuing the series on my book, Who's Buying You? Until You Sell Yourself. You won't sell much. Today we're on part 12 of 30, chapter 12. And the title of this chapter is Think Short Term. You just got to stick with me because the next chapter, chapter 13, we're going to talk about thinking long term. And just to give you a preview, the subtitle of Chapter 12, Think Short Term, is I want them to buy from me. Right? You think it's short term, I want them to buy from me. Preview of Chapter 13, Thinking Long Term, will come out next week. I want them to buy from me again. Right? That's why you want to think long term. So I'm gonna break it down for you in these two chapters. But getting back to today's thinking short term, I want them to buy from me. And talking about buying things, let me remind you, if you didn't know it, haven't heard, we started a Blue Collar Leadership Academy. What you can buy on that page is actually a subscription where everyone in your organization can go through online training courses, video courses from me and Rhea. And most of them, it depends on when you hear this. When I'm making it, we actually have 3 courses available, and we're about to release the 4th one. But depending on when you hear this, we could have as many as 10 or 15 courses. So there's going to be one option. You can subscribe to one course to let everyone go through in your organization, or you can subscribe to all courses, which is basically an all-access pass. It's a different subscription rate, but go check that out at bluecollarleadership.com/academy. And we tried to price that thing where it's crazy inexpensive, and you can do it at your own pace, at your own time, in your own location, online, or you can do it together as a group. But it's got one flat rate fee, no matter how many people work in your organization. As long as you're subscribed, you can go through it as many times with as many people in your organization as you want. So check that out. Let's get back to this episode, though. Think short term. I want them to buy from me. Jeffrey Gitomer, he's a sales guru. He's got the little red book on selling and a lot more, I'm sure. But I'm pretty sure that's where this quote come from that I'm sharing with you now. He said this: like leads to trust. Trust leads to buying. Buying leads to relationship. And I would also say building a relationship leads to buying. That can work either way. Actually, this entire quote, it could be read backwards pretty much. You could say trust leads to like. Buying leads to trust. Relationship leads to buying. You can flip it around. It's kind of universal. It's like I say character development equals leadership development. Leadership development equals character development. Kind of the same thing. But he said like leads to trust. Trust leads to buying. Buying leads to relationship. So when it comes to selling, how you think about the short term will dramatically impact how successful you are in the long term. So I'm gonna share with you in this series right here, this chapter and the next one, how these two tie together, how to see them separately, but also how to see them together. And you won't know the real deal on this till next episode. So be sure to check it out. If you're a first-time listener, or even if you're not, make sure you subscribe. And I think you can hit a notification bell, a button, or something on there. I don't really know. I don't check it out from your frame of reference, but pretty sure there's something like that. And so it'll automatically download and be ready. You won't miss it. You'll get notified. But it's natural to focus on the sale today because it's happening now. I mean, you got to focus on the sale today if you want to make it today. It's right in front of you. The next sale from this buyer may or may not ever happen. So you got to focus on the opportunity you got in the moment. That's the short-term sale. I want them to buy from me this time. But it's important to note the same principles that will help you long-term are the same principles that will help you sell yourself short-term. If you learn and intentionally apply the principles I'm sharing, you'll be on track for a great long-term sales career filled with tons of referrals, repeat customers, and lots of positive word of mouth advertisement. That right there, that's what I'm shooting for with this whole series on this Who's Buying You sales book. And again, if you don't sell yourself, you ain't gonna sell much. If you're a new listener and you haven't listened to the series, I highly recommend you go back and listen to it, because this entire series is about how to help you sell yourself so that you can easily sell your product or service. But highly effective salespeople, they know a secret. The best chance to sell themselves, sell their product or service, get repeat business in the future, get referrals, and get positive word of mouth is to make a friend instead of making a sale. Don't miss that. The best salespeople always focus on making friends, not sales. But see, needy and greedy salespeople, they're going to say, yeah, man, but I got to make the sale. Well, that's because you needy and greedy. You needy and greedy because you ain't making enough sales. Maybe you need to be listening to this. See, if you needy and greedy, you got to figure out how to not be needy and greedy when you're trying to make a sale, because you come across as needy and greedy, and people don't like needy and greedy salespeople because they come across as manipulative. Most often because they are. They trying to get that short-term sale. I need that money right now. I got bills. But when you can make friends, and it doesn't matter if you get to sell. Like I think it was, I can't remember now if it was this episode or last episode, because I was recording several of them today at the same time because I got a busy schedule coming up, so I got to get ahead so I can schedule these podcasts for you coming out. But either it was this episode previously or the last episode, I was talking to you about buying something. Oh, I remember I was talking, it was the last episode. I was talking about potentially buying this book because you need this book. It'll help you. And I told you, I don't care if you buy it or not. I don't need it. Max Story ain't needy and greedy. But I'm trying to declare my intent to help you understand. I'm trying to help you. I ain't needy and greedy. If you don't want to buy the book, don't buy it. I'm going to be all right. Don't buy it because you think I need you to buy it. I don't care if you buy it or not. You ain't got to buy nothing from me. You know why? There's plenty of other folks buying stuff from me. And I ain't even trying to sell them. I don't cold call. I don't chase calls. I don't follow up. I don't customers. I don't chase customers. I do the stuff that's in this book, and they come to me. But I'm trying to teach you and help you learn. So I'm talking to you about how you learn the best. Even if you love a podcast, you still need a real book. And I remember I was talking to you about that before. But anyway, it just resonated with me when I read that. It reminded me. But I'm trying to make a friend with you. I'm trying to help you. And you may not like my book. You may need to buy somebody else's book to put in your car or in your briefcase so that you can reference it. Use it like a tool. That's what I don't care. I don't care if it's my book or somebody else's. I care if you're successful. That's why I'm making this podcast for free. I'm trying to help you. Hopefully you listening because you want some help. So the best salespeople always focus on making friends, not sales. And that's common sense. You know that when you're sitting here listening, but it's not commonly practiced. You know that because you've bought a lot of stuff from a lot of people. How many of those salespeople that you've come across in your life, did it seem like they were really trying to make friends with you, and they really didn't care if you bought from them or you didn't buy from them? They wasn't really focused on the sale. They were just focused on you. If I was just focused on sales, I wouldn't be making this podcast. I'd be out chasing leads, trying to develop some customers, all that kind of stuff. I don't do any of that stuff. I ain't needy and I ain't greedy. There are a lot of things people know they should do because it's common sense. But I've discovered when people say something is common sense, what they mean is everyone would understand they should do it. I've also learned many of the things in life that can be understood with common sense, this is a key point right here, cannot be applied with common sense. Doing many of the things in life that are commonly understood often requires something special. I call it uncommon sense. In order to do the things you know you should do, you often must have a higher level of intellectual capacity, what I call uncommon sense. Like if you're listening to this podcast, at some level, you've got some uncommon sense because there's a whole lot of people, they ain't listening to any kind of podcast. They ain't reading any books to help themselves. They ain't watching they ain't watching any videos. They might have tremendous common sense, and they think everybody who doesn't have common sense is dumb as a rock. You hear them all the time. But a lot of those people who have a high degree of common sense, they missing out on life because they don't have uncommon sense. A lot of those folks, all they want to do is pay their bills. That's the whole goal in life, is to pay their bills. So once they got enough money to pay their bills, they waste the rest of their life. So they keep struggling to pay their bills, but they get them paid. But their life's hard because they don't have uncommon sense. They can't turn that TV off down long enough to study something going to help them get to the next level. Or they can't quit playing and wasting the leftover money after they pay the bills. They ain't using their money to make money. They're just wasting the extra money because their goal is to pay their bills, and the bill's been paid, so why not waste it? You know why I know so much about that? I used to do that exact same thing till I figured it out. Back then, old Mac Story was needy and greedy back in those days, I can promise you. I worked every minute of overtime I could get when I was working in them factories and all that stuff, and any extra money I got, I wasted it. I drank a lot of it back when I drank alcohol. I hadn't drank since 2012, but I wasted a lot of money because I didn't have uncommon sense, which made me had to work a whole lot of hours I shouldn't have to work if I would have had uncommon sense. I would have been making stuff happen. I didn't have a clue. It was rough life back then. You pay all your bills and you got $8 left over. You better be working some overtime or you're going to have a miserable life. And that was a life I had at one moment in my life. I remember that very well. But getting back to the best salespeople, always focus on making friends, not sales. It's easier to sell to a friend who trusts you than to sell to someone who distrusts you or questions your integrity. That's why you don't need to be needy and greedy. If you're needy and greedy, you got to figure out how to get out of that spot. If you own a company or a high-level leader in a company and you got a sales team reports to you, or is there just a sales team? Obviously, probably is one. Most likely there is one in your organization. You got to help grow and develop those people so that they ain't needy and greedy. Because if they needy and greedy, they ain't got good sales. You got to help them on a higher level than just how to sell a product. You got to help them with the content that's in this book, how to sell themselves. A sales manager or a sales leader or owner of a company should be reading this book, making sure they agree with it, and then they should be facilitating high-impact book studies on this book with their sales team or having a sales manager do it. Somebody needs to be doing it. You can learn how to do that with episode 305. I teach you how to facilitate a high-impact book study. I've got clients, sales, they're not necessarily just in sales, but they have a sales team, and they go through this book. More than one, they've used this book for facilitating book studies. And I've been on I've attended some of those sessions, and those folks getting some value out of this. I'm here to tell you. So if you're in any kind of organization where you got a sales team and you got any kind of influence, you want to increase your sales, see if you can influence them going through a book study with this book right here. It'll make a big impact. But what I told you about, selling to a friend who trusts you is a whole lot easier than selling to someone who distrusts you or questions your integrity. That's common sense. We were talking about that earlier, right? That's common sense. Anybody would agree with that. However, it takes uncommon sense to focus on building a friendship based on trust instead of simply trying to make a quick sale because you're needy and greedy. You must choose to go slower. It ain't about you. If you're a character-based salesperson, it ain't about you. That's why I ain't out chasing sales. Now, your boss may have you out chasing sales. If the only way you get paid is on commission, you got to be selling. But when you're interacting with people, you got to be doing what's in this book, whether you chasing sales or whether you ain't. It's common sense. You got to go slower. You want to build a stronger, better relationship. If you focus only on what's best in the current moment, you may get the sale, but you may miss the opportunity to establish a long-term relationship. If you focus on the future, you may get the current sale while taking extra time to establish a lasting relationship. You can do that. You can do both, but start by intentionally building trust. So I got a perfect example to illustrate what I'm trying to help you. I got to illustrate this lesson right here. So my wife Rhea and I, we moved to the Atlanta area from Auburn, Alabama in 2015. I had lived in Auburn 20 years. I met Rhea about 5 years into that time. So she and I had lived over there for 15 years together. And we decided to move to Atlanta, the Atlanta area, not literally Atlanta city limits, but outside of Atlanta. So when I say we moved to Atlanta, Georgia, that's just a reference that most people would understand. But we live in a small town actually called Sharpsburg. That's outside of Atlanta on the airport side. We moved here to be near the large market, but not primarily. Primary reason was be near the airport. So we get in Atlanta, you can get a lot of direct flights. You ain't got to do the layovers and all that sort of stuff. You can get right where you need to go. So that's what got us to this area when we moved back in 2015. We brought most of our furniture along, but not our sofa and love seat. We wasn't bringing it. We wanted to get a new one. So we drove to the city that we were going to be living to, the closest place that's got some furniture stores, a few weeks in advance to buy a new set and to schedule delivery for the day we were actually officially moving in. So we wouldn't have to store it or wait for it. So we was trying to be proactive and plan all this stuff out. So when we walked into the first furniture store, and you got to know, I don't like shopping. I really don't like being sold to. I don't mind somebody wants to hang out and make friends like we was talking about earlier. But I don't want somebody trying to sell me something. I don't even know what I want. I'm looking. When I say I'm looking, I want somebody to let me look. If you're in professional sales, somebody tells you they just looking, you can be needy and greedy, or you can build some trust and let them just look. Tell them I'll be here somewhere, wherever you're going to be, if you need me. But anyway, let me tell you this story and you'll get the lesson. So we walked into the first furniture store. We were approached by the sales guy. A lot of times you go in them furniture stores, they staged up right there at the door. One right after the other. They waiting. They taking turns, whatever they're doing. Nothing against them, nothing bad about it, but that's what they're doing. And somebody there, the manager, expects them to be doing that. So they following the script, at least to that point. So we approached by the salesman as soon as we walk in. And like I mentioned, I don't like being approached by the salesperson when I'm shopping. But I understand they are there to make a sale. That's how they make their money. That's okay. I ain't rude to them. I ain't ugly to them. I don't like it because I'm just going to look. If I want to buy something, salesperson will be the first person I'm looking for because I got to find somebody to sell it to me. But anyway, so I put on a smile, maintain my best character-based behavior like I'm always encouraging you to do, and I live with it. That's the way it works. I've been in the furniture store a lot of times. I know how it works. So I like to look and be left alone while I'm looking, just like I said earlier. No one knows what I want and need more than me. I'm always nice, but I don't like clingy salespeople who recommend things to me all the time. I can't even look for them recommending all this stuff. They don't know nothing about me. Most of the people doing this, they ain't even asking about me. They telling me what they think I want. If I want to buy something, they'll be the first to know. I remember going in some stores, furniture stores, and the guy's recommending this sofa. And he ain't understanding I'm 5'7". I sat on that sofa, my feet won't reach the floor and my back won't reach the back of the sofa. That's funny, ain't it? Tall people don't think about that. Most furniture ain't built for us shorter folks. Us vertically challenged people. So first thing I'm looking for is some furniture that fits me. Unless it fits, it don't matter nothing else doesn't matter. But a lot of furniture salespeople, especially the taller ones, they don't even understand that. They ain't never took time to understand the customer. They just want to sell me whatever it is they want to sell me. But anyway, let's get back to this salesman approaching us, because this is a good story. So as he approached, the salesman greeted us. My name's Carl. How can I help you? That was good. I replied, Carl, we're looking for a living room furniture. If you can simply point us in the direction, that's all we need at the moment. He said, it's that way, sir, as he pointed us in the right direction. He did exactly what I asked him. I like that. He asked me a question. I gave him an answer. He listened, and he did exactly what I asked. That perfection right there. If you're going to sell me something, that's perfection. I liked it. He didn't try to lead us to it, as most amateur salespeople would have done. He was a real sales pro. Carl was a pro. We liked him immediately and knew we would most likely buy from Carl. So I said, thanks, Carl. I prefer to just look around. If I find something, you'll be the first to know. He said, yes, sir, with a nod and a smile. And guess what? He didn't bother us again. He didn't bother us one single time. He didn't hover over us. He didn't smother us. He didn't point out everything we needed to buy. I knew Carl was a pro. We made our selection. We found Carl, and I told him what we wanted. But what he did next sealed the deal. This one I knew for real Carl was a sales pro. I had a good idea. Intuition was kicking in pretty hard. This one he sealed the deal right here. Carl said this. Remember, I went and found him. I told him what I wanted. I'm ready to buy it. This is what Carl did. He said, you seem to really like this one. He said, it's a great deal, and the quality's great. He told me all about it. He said, I'm confident you'll not find a better deal or better quality. And this next question got me right there. I knew I was dealing with a sales pro. He said, have you already been to any other stores? I said, no, sir. This is our first stop. We got lucky, too. Amateur salespeople would have started processing our payment right there on the spot. But not Carl. He's a sales pro. This is what he did. He offered the names of 3 competitors, 3 other furniture stores in the area, close by. He gave us directions to all of them. and he suggested we go look around before making our purchase. I knew when he did that, he was one of those special salespeople who was focused on making friends instead of making sales. This is what we did. I didn't want to do it. I don't like to shop around, but Carl was pretty insistent. He wanted us to go look around. So I finally, he just wouldn't sell me the sofa pretty much, but I finally, we left the store. We drove to the end of the street. I turned around, went back, and we bought it from Carl. I told him I really appreciated it. It meant a lot that he cared about if we got the right sofa. But I re-emphasized, I don't like shopping around, Carl. Carl wasn't just another salesperson by that time. He was our friend. Like I told you before, friendship sells. He made such an impact, I'm talking about him in this book. He got to sell. And I'm going to share some more about him and this story in the next episode. So make sure you come back next week, or if it's already there, make sure you proceed on to the next podcast if it's already been released and check that out, because I'm going to continue this story when I go in and talk to you about long-term selling. Let's get to the seller beware points at the end of each chapter. Seller beware point number 1. You go farther, faster, simply by making friends. Seller beware point number 2. Your character is revealed by your words and behavior. Seller beware point number 3. When you blow them away with character, they buy. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Really hope you come back for the next one. Keep climbing. Talk to you next time.
Make it happen or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Mac Story's Blue Collar Leadership series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon, iTunes, and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Mac's books, programs, special offers, certifications, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.